The harmfulness of vegetable oils. I want to discuss two very distinct clients that it was quite surprising for me because they are vegetarians for decades, and usually people who have problems with heart disease and heart problems, when they turn to a vegetarian diet, or more specifically a vegan diet, there's many instances where I found that people were able to reverse much of the hardening of the arteries and reverse high blood pressure, and became free from heart disease as well over a 2 year period. And normally within 6 months, the medications were reduced, and after 2 years they were safely able to come out of medication. And when two of my clients who were long-term vegetarians had a stroke and also started to experience heart problems, I was very surprised, right? And I'm going to discuss that in this video today. For those of you who like the contents of my videos, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. This is going to greatly help my channel to be able to reach out to more people. And an optional extra, if you could drop a comment and share it with just one other person or your favorite social media channel, I would very highly appreciate it. But more importantly, I want to thank each and every one of you for spending your precious time and watching my videos. A very big thank you. Okay. For those of you who don't know me, I am Osman, hashtag the blind Muslim yogi. I'm a bioenergy healer on a master level with telepathic healing capabilities, specializing in critical care recovery and terminal illnesses, amongst a host of other physiological, psychological, and spiritual ailments. An amazing offer: 10-minute anxiety fix for just $5, less than the price of a cup of Starbucks coffee, and delivered to you telepathically, instantly, globally, wherever you are, and pay only after you are satisfied. And this goes for all my treatment protocols. You only pay after you are satisfied with the treatment. For contact information, visit my website, yogawellness786.com. I'm also an advanced level yoga and meditation teacher, having been practicing this art form for almost 50 years and teaching for 44 years. In that period, I studied under various masters from different schools of thought, from different cultures across the globe, from the Far East, the Middle East, the West, including these scientific communities. And what I've done is I've took the best of all the worlds and created my own unique combined protocols, but adapted them for the 21st century by basically making them quicker, easier, faster, more time efficient, and results oriented. To that end, I now have students in over 100 countries, and my favorite protocol is my 5-minute yoga and meditation program, which you can download for free by visiting my website, yogawellness786.com, and where you can get more information about my services. Also, remember, my therapies are all natural based and not a replacement for medical treatment. So, coming back to these two patients on different occasions, so I'd say about 15 years ago, one of my patients, a long-standing vegetarian, and it was a lady. She was a vegetarian from her age of 15, and this was like 50 years later when she was around 65 years old, right? And she had a stroke on the right side, and she was a teacher. And when she's writing on the board, her hand just collapsed and she couldn't write anymore, and she had to dictate the lesson to the class. She got very worried that it's going to become a serious stroke, and she will not be able to use a hand or would not be able to walk and so forth, right? And of course, I encouraged her, number one, to go to the doctor, right? And then I use natural therapies as well. And I encourage them to take the supplement selenium, which is an amazing antioxidant, which removes, the plaque and oxidative damage, in your blood vessels and your cells. And it's just 50 micrograms, and it's something not many people know about. and it also boosts the immune system tremendously. And taking the medication, including the selenium, she never, experienced a stroke again. And she's still healthy. She's now 80 years old. And when I met her again, she was very ill and suffering with chest pains. And then one of her friends, a man, I would say in his early 60s, and he's a vegetarian for a long time, right? For decades. And I was encouraging him to come, for a chakra and blocking. And he was a nice person. And I told him it's going to, have an amazing effect on you. And I will do it, complimentary because I liked him, and without any charge as well. But he was very busy, and event about I think about a month later, when I contacted him, he said, no, he was in hospital. He had a mild stroke. And then, of course, he was discharged after a few days, and and I got some information about 2 weeks later, he was readmitted because he was having chest pain. And he is someone who does not smoke, who does not have alcohol, who is a vegetarian for decades. And even this lady, she had the stroke and now starting to have chest pains. How come? Because I know many patients who have heart problems, when they turn to a vegan diet, they reverse the heart disease together, of course, with medication. But I know many cases where they came off the medications just by following a vegan diet. It dramatically changed. Removed the high blood pressure, reversed the heart disease, circulation improved. Dramatically, blood flow. Even helping with neuropathy and so forth. Right, erectile dysfunction, all these things. And how come these vegetarians, and I checked with their diet, and they were eating generally very healthy. They were not overweight, right? They were, and they were active people, and also calm demeanor, not someone under undue stress and so forth. But the difference is they were eating a diet with with the vegetable oils, right? With the both of them eating Indian style cuisines. So I figured out, because I know from the naturopaths, they found that the best, healthiest diets, that has got medicinal value, is the Indian type of diet, because they put so many spices, the turmeric powder, the cumin, the coriander powder, and they put this leaves and uh, that leaves and garlic and onions and even the chili spices is healthy, right? Some of them, not too much, of course. Right? I always, if I order mild, I'm used to Western diet. I'm not from India, by the way. I'm from South Africa originally, and uh, used to eating very mild foods. I mean, I don't ever consume chili or anything, but if I'm eating Indian foods, which I love, it's very delicious, then I always order mild. you know Say mild, medium, or hot. I say no, no, mild. And if they don't give me the option, I try to stay away from it, or I'm careful that I can have something soothing after that, or watch how I'm eating it and how I'm consuming it, because some of the spices are a bit too much of something, is not good. But there was a doctor, who's, I forgot his name. It was in one of the podcasts. I think it's in the Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett, and he's got 50 years experience practicing. This, and he studied in the university as well. He's got university level education, and he even written books. He's from the UK, on so many natural ways to use natural plants and spices as a medication for different types of illnesses, right? And how come these people are eating healthy? What is the only thing was they were cooking with vegetable oils like sunflower oil or canola oil, right? Which I heard from another podcast that these vegetable oils, to remove them completely from, once you've stopped them, right? We're not talking about the olive oils, these are healthy, and the like avocado oil and you get certain seed oils, that are healthy, and what's the other? Coconut oil. Coconut oil is proven to be, amazing, right? Amazing positive effects, right? These are very expensive and not easily available. If you use olive oil to cook with, it changes the taste of the food. You can't really like cook Indian style cooking. They will not use olive oil to cook with. You can use it as a dressing, in your salads and so forth, but not like heat it up and fry. Imagine you fry an egg in it and so forth. How is that going to be, right? How does that taste in olive oil? Not going to taste good, right? So coming back to this, other information that I heard, that when people cut out these poisonous vegetable oils, which is causes you know something called glycation, the aging of your cells and your cartilages, and so it becomes brown. And when you cut it out, it takes 2 years to completely eliminate it from your tissues and your blood, because it becomes sticky and gets stuck inside your body. And it only, like, not completely, but almost, mostly eliminated, and after 2 years, right? This is a very big problem, right? And also sugar is a major problem, right? It becomes very sticky. If you melt sugar, it becomes sticky. That's how it becomes sticky within the cells and between the cells. So the lymphatic system, which is there to remove the waste between the cells, the waste gets stuck with the stickiness, of the sugar. Cut sugar out completely, the refined sugar completely, right? Completely, completely, completely. Don't touch it. Imagine it is like rat poison, right? Just consider it as a poison, and the vegetable oil is a poison. So now I'm speaking to these people, and so the lady especially is not having a lot of sugar, and and she avoids sugar mostly, right? She only has a cup of tea now and then with a little bit of sugar in it, which I didn't suspect that that's causing the problem. I believe the problem was because they like a lot of oil in the food. I said, God, they said, how are you going to cook without oil? I said, use, because I normally cook with water. He said, you mean I must have boiled food? I said, no, because I know how they cook, right? I said, where are you putting the oil? Just put a little bit of water, and like they want to chop the onions and fry the onions in oil. And once the onions are like browning, then they add, the various spices to cook the spices, in the oil, fry the spices. And then they add, tomatoes to create a tomato base. And then they add the vegetables to it, right? And cook the vegetables, right? I said, in place of the oil, just put water and still put your onions, your garlic, your chilies, and your other spices, whatever spices you're doing. Just add it, and they cooked. And I was invited to go have a meal, with them, especially with the lady, and she couldn't imagine cooking that way, right? I said, no. What I told her, how to remove, because it's very hard to take someone out of the habit. Now they're 80 years old and 60 someone. How are you going to take them out of the habit? So the one thing I said, do you want, dying early is not the problem. I mean, you're going to go to, I believe you're going to a better place, right? From all the NDEs and everything that we've seen scientifically. What happens during death is not, so bad as what people depict it to be. And what happens after seems to be like, in most scientific experiments, there could be exceptions to the rule, right? Which I found as well, right, in my healing therapies and so forth. But generally, it's you're going to a better place, right? So that's not the problem. Problem is if you're going to get a stroke and you're going to end up in napkins, and people are changing you as an adult, and you are in a care institute, like a maybe a government institute or a place where you have to wait for someone else to come change you, and you can maybe sit for hours with your own mess. Do you want to end up in napkins? You want to do everything possible to avoid, not that if you're going to cut the sugar and the oil, vegetable oil, that you're going to guarantee you're not going to end up in napkins. You also have to, there's many other aspects, to it. And also the genetic aspects and, other medical, but you're going to go a long way to reducing the likelihood of you ending up in that, if you cut these things out, and or I mean, if you don't cut these things out and you end up in napkins, are you going to think, what if I cut it out? How would it? And you're going to, normally when you're napkins, it's your last edge of your life, and you can be in napkins for 2 years, and some people can be in napkins for 10 years, right? Do you want that to happen? No. Cut these things out, right? Cut the vegetables, oils, and the food was tasty. It was delicious. They said, no, it's not bad. It doesn't taste awful because they got all the Indian spices there. They got the onions, the garlic, the chili, the spice, that thing, and just that they didn't put oil. It just wasn't oily. And they cook, because I love they ask what I like. I love having different types of herbs and spinach, right? Any type of herb. I love that they cook that. I said, like, normally I don't have onions and garlic and all that, from, because it's a meditation yoga protocol. But I don't tell them to do that, because they not, they want taste in the food, right? And also, it is healthy. There is health benefits to it. It's just that it interferes with the calmness of your mind in meditation, and advancement in your meditation and so forth in the beginning stages. When you advance, you can consume anything after that. Of course, consume healthy foods, right? So I ate the herbs. It was tasting amazing, little different, not oily, but the taste was there. And then a second occasion, they cooked eggplant or brinjals, whatever you call that particular vegetable, and aubergines, I think, and it was amazing taste. They used tamarind and chili, and not chili powder, curry powder. They made it mild for me, and garlic and onions, and it was amazing taste, right? And that we tasted amazing. Maybe not exactly like what it was, but it's like a very minimal difference, right? So just as you're cooking, instead of oil, put water there as a base, as though imagine it is oil, and put in whatever you need to fry. So you're not going to actually fry the spices. Another friend of mine said, "Oh, Osman, the spices are going to all be raw, not going to be fried." But maybe it's better, because the spices have medicinal benefit, right, to it. Once you fry it, you like killing it. And also, don't overcook your foods. So when I mentioned this to the lady, do you want to end up, and I had to mention it on 2 or 3 occasions, she was convinced, sold. I said, do you want to end up in napkins? Oh my God. It went deep into the heart. So I hope it goes deep into your heart. Cut sugar out completely. And I know it's difficult, because sugar is more addictive than cocaine. You have to go with that understanding, right? That is very difficult. But wean yourself out, and just keep thinking of, I don't want to end up in napkins, you know, and remove it cold turkey, and find alternative things like apples or fruit or nuts, to munch on. So I hope that information helps you, and take care of yourself always.